Deep within the Whispering Woods lived an old, gnarled oak tree. Its branches, thick and twisted like the arms of a giant, reached out towards the sky. But no one really listened to what the trees were saying until Elara. She would sit at the base of the oldest oak, close her eyes and listen intently, and one day she heard a whisper. At first it was faint, and she could only make out fragments of the message. But as she continued to listen, the whisper grew louder and clearer until she understood the words being spoken. To renew the spell, the tree needed a special sap, the tears of the moon, which could only be found at the top of the tallest pine in the silver glade. But there was a problem. The path to the silver glade was fraught with danger. They were beautiful creatures with flowing hair and skin like bark, but their eyes were cold and their voices like the rustling of dead leaves. They told Elara that she could not climb the tree, that no human ever had, and lived to tell the tale, but Elara refused to be deterred. She thanked the Dryads for their help and promised to return the favor if they ever needed it. Then she turned and ran as fast as she could towards the ancient oak, its familiar silhouette growing larger with every step. When she finally reached the tree, her hands shaking with exhaustion, she pressed the sap against its bark. She explained why she was there and begged the Dryads to let her climb the pine. When Elara could see again, the ancient oak was gone. In its place was a sapling no thicker than her wrist. Yet Elara knew the tree was still there, its magic renewed, its wisdom preserved. The Whispering Woods were safe once more, and so was Elara, for she had discovered the secret of the ancient oak, and in doing so had become part of its story. There were prickly bushes that tore at flesh, bogs that sucked the life out of those who stepped foot in them, and gnarled roots that tripped unwary travelers. Not to mention, the Whispering Woods was home to all kinds of mystical creatures, some friendly and some not so friendly. The tree was so old that no one could remember when it had sprouted from the forest floor or who had planted it all those years ago. She had made a promise to the ancient oak, and she intended to keep it. So, with a backpack full of supplies and courage in her heart, she set off into the woods. They parted, revealing a narrow path leading to the tree. Elara wasted no time in beginning her ascent. She climbed higher and higher, the pine's needles scratching at her clothes and the wind whipping at her face. Just when she thought she could go no higher, she saw the sap she needed, shimmering like a teardrop at the top of the tree. The journey was long and arduous. Elara had to climb over fallen logs, wade through icy streams, and even make a daring escape from a grumpy troll who lived under a bridge. Finally, she reached the silver glade, a clearing bathed in moonlight where the tallest pine tree shimmered like a beacon. "Whoever discovers my secret," the tree whispered, "will have their greatest wish granted." Elara's heart skipped a beat. Could this be true? The answer, she soon realized, lay hidden within the tree's gnarled bark. It was as though the tree was responding to her touch, and then the whispers began again. This time, Elara could understand every word. The old oak was telling her about a time when the Whispering Woods were in danger, when a wicked sorcerer threatened to cut down all the trees and turn the land into a desert. The trees, desperate to save themselves, called upon all their strength and wove a powerful spell, binding their magic into the heartwood of the oldest oak. As she looked closer, she noticed that the patterns in the wood almost looked like letters, like some kind of forgotten language, and then it hit her. She needed to touch the bark, not just listen to it, so she did. Was the ancient oak truly magical? She had heard stories of the tree's supposed powers, but dismissed them as mere folklore. Yet here she was hearing with her own ears that the tree held magic within its core. All the townsfolk knew was that if they stood beneath the ancient oak and whispered their deepest desires into its rough bark, those wishes would come true. Some thought the tree was magical, while others believed it was merely a coincidence. But one young girl named Elara was determined to uncover the truth. Elara had always been curious about the Whispering Wood. It was said that the trees gossiped amongst themselves, sharing secrets on the wind that rustled through their leaves. The old oak was speaking to her, and what it had to say would change her life forever. But what was the secret the tree spoke of, and how could Elara discover it? As her fingers traced the lines and curves of the ancient oak, she felt a jolt of energy shoot through her arm. And now, after all these years, the tree was losing its power and, with it, the protection of the entire forest. But Elara was determined to help the Whispering Woods. But before Elara could reach the tree, she was confronted by a group of dryads, tree nymphs who guarded the forest. Touched by Elara's determination, the dryads agreed to help her. Elara carefully collected the sap, then made her way back down the tree. The moment the sap touched the wood, a blinding light erupted from the ancient oak, bathing the forest floor in an ethereal glow.